just indulge me for a second when we talk about how we're going to find the solutions. And I know a lot of people are already doing a lot of work in this area. We're working with customers in this area and film suppliers. But a lot of the time when people talk to me about finding a sustainable solution, it's a fragmented answer. Oh, I need to find something that is going to suit what the supermarkets are asking me to do, or what is going to be compliant. But then they start talking about other areas of their business. So I've tried to encapsulate that into a few bullet points. In order to have a basis, you really need to know what the sustainable base of your brand is to start this project management of ensuring compliance for regulation. So very obvious. Your business platform and your brand. Who are you? What are the products? What are you trying to sell? What are you trying to be? Regulation, what you have to do. So who are you? What you have to do? And then cost, what can you afford to do? Because we've already discussed, you saw, how many times did we see cost come up on the word clouds? Every time it was discussed. So we know there's going to be a cost. How are you going to fund it? What can you afford to do? And then your packing lines. What can your machinery do? What can it not do? We've had experience with people getting excited about some new technology that have come in. They've gone, beauty, 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 we want to try and do that. And then suddenly realising that they have to make some major changes to their machinery in order to make it work. And that comes back to cost. And then customer expectations. So it's not just the consumer, what will they accept, what do they want, what do they expect, but then it's your direct customer, your retailers that you're working through. So you have to align all of these values into your base for your project plan, for your timeline, and then consequences. And if you don't do anything, what's going to happen? Is there going to be some sort of fine or regulation that's going to stop you? We don't know about that yet. That's been discussed a couple of times. So if we look at the sustainable base of your brand, what we're trying to do at J&P is then become the partner who is going to project manage you through this and help you with your timeline. And we're learning about all of this as well. We're learning about the options and the opportunities to get you there, because it's a little bit like the light at the end of the tunnel, you know. It's a train that's coming in our direction. So we need to know that we're going to jump on board and actually be part of that journey. So if we are the sustainability supplier of choice, then we need to say to you, what is the base? What's your sustainable base? Establish that with you, and then work out what are the pathways. So at the moment, we're probably project managing and trying to implement timely compliance across the board. And to some customers, that may be all they want to do. I just want to be compliant with the guidelines, maybe looking at some recycled content. And that's as far as the breadth of their thinking can go, because that's where they see that they will meet regulation. But then we need to start to broaden that out and understand next steps. Now, curbside collection at the moment, if you're working in soft plastics, the only thing you really can use is paper. There's not a lot that is available for curbside collection at the moment. I know our friends in South Australia are working with compostable, but it's not nationwide. But who knows what it will be? So then, do we need to keep that as a blue sky? What is your curbside collection next point? It may be standard plastics that are soon to be curbside collected. We don't know, but let's make sure that we have your initial timeline. What is your next timeline? And then we project plan and continue to manage with you what your timelines are to achieve the next sustainable goal. The sands are shifting. It's not a solid workplace for us to be able to be too rigid about what our decisions are, but we need to be sensible about what our decisions are and what we can achieve. So based on that, you're recycle ready. Everyone's familiar with this. Transitions of structures to compliant material. So we've got reviews of customers' portfolios. You saw my previous pie chart. A lot of work going on, not there yet. Need to create the timeline to get everybody there. As Ian has said and Chris Foley has said, you really need to have been looking at that by the time you've got to the end of 2025. Down gauging for compliant materials. If you want to try and reduce your volume, is that a possibility? A lot of people are already looking at it or have looked at it. Is it a possibility? Again, reviewing your structure, going back to the culprits that I mentioned earlier, can you do it? And then the recycle content for compliant material, which is starting to be available, and I know will be discussed in a little while when we start to talk about available films, because I'm sure you're all hearing from the supermarkets, what is the recycle content of your packaging product? So recycle ready is one area for solution that we're working with. Curbside collection, this is still this grey area because it's really only paper. Materials that are already suitable for council curbside collection does focus in the paper area, and I'm sure we're all aware of a fairly major chocolate bar brand that has been utilising that as a marketing strategy for the last however many months. Yes, that has been successful in that space. Is it successful everywhere else? And what are the recycle options for materials already as part of curbside collection, and where else can that go? So we need to keep that in our thinking. When we're looking at solution management, keep it in your thinking. And then there's compostable, which we are dealing with some, and in every one of these areas, we have key partners. And a lot of them are in the room today, and in compostables, we have some key partners who are working with us to look at key laminates and single web compostable materials that are home compostable and industrial compostable. And those materials are available now. Now, are they suitable for everybody's packaging line? Some yes, some no. All of these things have to be trialled. You need to look at the specification requirements to suit your product integrity, and then your product analysis for shelf life. But there's also certification that we are actively working with the Australian Bioplastics Association to say that some of these products, when they have the certification on them, are home compostable. Now, as I said before, it's not curbside collection nationwide. Who knows when it will be, when we're all allowed to put it in the green bin. Again, you've got to keep your options open for what the solutions are that suit you going forward. And in each of these cases, recycle ready, curbside collection and compostable, J&P have key partners that can work with you on your timeline to get you to where you want to be based on your sustainable base of your brand. This is interesting that it came up in the word clouds, the words education. What we're finding is that the key to success is solutions plus education. Success can be gauged on many levels. Did you get more customers as a result of moving to a sustainable product? Have you become compliant? Is that how you gauge success? Tick, yes, I've done it. I can say that we're ready to rock and roll. Whatever success looks like for you, the key to success includes consumer acceptance of the solution. If you change something and the consumer doesn't like it, and in the chat room I was in, there was a whole discussion about one particular customer who was trying to change something and it didn't get the consumer acceptance that they thought that it would. And a lot of that comes down to education and your marketing and how you sell it. But in this instance, it's also training everybody as to what bin to put the relevant piece of packaging in. And that is still an area that's being worked on. If the consumer doesn't understand the packaging disposal process for recycling, then a lot of this work, it's not quite for naught, but it will be something that we'll all look at it and go, well, that went well, didn't it? You know, so some of the feedback with the APCO to government is we're doing the work, who's educating the consumer as to what to do. So then it leads us into the whole life cycle, the circular economy of brand owners, retailers, packaging specialists and consumers need to all assume their part in the packaging circular economy to make this a success. So our solutions plus education will equal success so that we can make this work. So we're looking at raw materials, sustainable design. We talked about what we might need to do to change our packaging design, the production of the same, the distribution, are we doing that in the most sustainable way? The consumption of the product, which is where the customers in the room are utilising the product, and then reuse and repair, and then the collection and the waste disposal. In order for it to be a cycle, it has to be right across the board. So we're trying to do our part with the solution management to help you get to do your part. So then hopefully the cycle will continue to be a success throughout the Australian economy. To that point, I did mention that we have some key partners who are helping us, who have got some solutions within their portfolio. So I would like to invite Ian Hayes back up to the podium, because the APCO do have some resources that you can access even if you're not a member. So there are some things that you can access to help you with this thinking and this understanding and this project management in order to get you further down that pathway.
I won't spend a lot of time here because we sort of talked about it during the day anyway, but these are the types of tools and resources that are available online through the APCO website for free, member, non-member, whatever else it might be. So thinking about problematic and unnecessary, I mean, I won't go through the whole lot, but these have been put together by the folks at APCO in conjunction with working groups trying to come up with this. Even if you just want to have a look at these and say, you could change this or move that around, give us some feedback on how these could be better. Anything like that would be really appreciated. The PFAS is a big one, obviously. So we're thinking about how that might look for organisations, certainly around their fibre-based. I don't want to flag anything too much, but PFAS in flexible films is going to come around because it's there. So smallish amounts, but it's around. So hold on to that thought. And it's unacceptable. As we go forward, it will be a chemical of concern. On the prep tool, of course, we've been using that and coming up with the ARL piece that goes with it. There's a number of projects that are underway and there's more coming. We don't have a lot of money as a non-profit member-based organisation, but we do have a little bit that we can assign to various projects, and then looking for member partners to come on board and help us with those. So finding either in-kind or a bit of finance to help that work through. So again, working through these types of specific opportunities, but then also getting into some specific projects themselves. How would we increase the amount of RHDPE, for example, coming back as food grade? What are the roadblocks in that space? What are the opportunities in that space? How do we think about PET tray recycling and getting more of that going forward, et cetera, et cetera? So again, if any of those things sort of light up for you as something of interest, or you see something where I think we talked before, oh, Blair's gone, but that idea of, you know, we're all in competition, but finding technical programs where we can actually work consultatively would be helpful in that space. And so maybe we can provide that as a bit of an honest broker in that area to bring people together and work our way towards those types of solutions. Did I mention the SPGs? I don't know that I did. If I didn't, the sustainable packaging guidelines are available. They're up there. They're free. They're fantastic. They are considering all of those aspects, and they're, as I said, they're benchmarked against what's possible. What's best practice coming out of Europe, certainly. So again, the design for recovery is the classic waste hierarchy. Don't use packaging if you don't have to. Use the right amount when you do. Think about reuse. Think about, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here that's quite fundamental, but sometimes we forget as packaging technologists. So to go back and look at those is probably not a bad thing. And as I said, they are really good. And I didn't write them, so I can say that. They're very, very positive. And as a foundation piece going forward for what the mandates might look like and what good practice looks like, it's a pretty good place to start.
Bronwyn Walker is the Health, Safety, Environment and Quality and Compliance Manager. That's a mouthful in itself. From Innovia Films, who we source a lot of raw materials from, in particular for a customer sitting in the front row. We source a lot of raw materials through this company, and they have some very innovative things that Bronwyn will talk about. Thank you, Bronwyn.
Thank you. Thanks to Louis and J&P Flexos for having us here today. I will rely on my notes a little bit because I'm a little bit nervous, but that's okay. So just to give you a bit of background, I'm not a packaging specialist at all. My role is more about compliance, certification, management systems. So I'm talking to you more from, I suppose, a sustainability perspective than a packaging perspective. I've worked with Innovia for 11 years, so I hope I can represent what I need to here well for you today. So I'm going to take you, oh, wrong one, sorry. this one. So I'm just going to take a step back in the sustainability story first to talk to you a little bit about carbon footprint and how polymer films sit within that story. So first we'll talk about global warming potential. So in order to determine the global warming potential of something, we need to use kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent per unit of comparison. And this is the closest way that we can measure what's best for the environment. A positive number indicates that the process will be contributing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, which would be a bad thing. And a negative number indicates the process will take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, which would be a good thing. Growing plants takes in carbon dioxide, but then burning, decaying or composting plant material gives out carbon dioxide. Oh, again, I did the wrong thing, sorry. All right, so as we know, food production can be quite highly carbon intensive. Cattle and sheep give off large amounts of methane, which is 30 times more powerful than carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. Therefore, they have a high global warming potential. Then if we look at, say, strawberries or snow peas growing in the garden in summer, they will have a negative global warming potential. But then if we grow them in a hot house and then air freight them to where they need to be distributed from, then obviously that global warming potential becomes high. So maybe now I can speak your language. So effective, efficient packaging reduces food waste and lowers our overall carbon footprint. So we know the most important environmental consideration we are making when we're choosing a food packaging material is to make sure that it reduces food waste. So when we're looking at, say, the carbon associated with something, like food packaging material, 3 packs every week on these little biscuits will equal the same amount as this whole cheeseburger. When we look at flexible packaging, it's the most carbon efficient format. So if we were to package 1.7 kilos of waste in a kilo of glass, we would need 1.7 kilos, other way, a kilo of packaging to package 1.7 kilos of glass, but we would be able to package 56 kilos in 1 kilo of film packaging or flexible packaging.
Okay.
Now, if you ask about the global warming potential of film, so polypropylene is pretty well positioned. If we look at our Encore REF with PCR polymer in it, we will have a negative global warming potential. But then if we look at our Propofilm, which REF, which has virgin polypropylene, we're still very well positioned compared to all of the other kinds of flexible packaging in the market. So let's talk about advantages of recycled content polypropylene film. So polypropylene is recyclable. So we're giving a commitment to circular economy by using it. And when using some of the polymers, we can contribute to the national packaging targets with recycled content within them. All right, so our sustainable film options. At the moment, we've got 3 sustainable film options. So with content you can put into your film from, I suppose, as low as you want really, up to in the 90s within that product. So our post-consumer reclaim comes from, so it's a PCR film, polymer, which comes from low quality plastic destined for landfill. It's chemically recycled and we get the same quality and machine performance as fossil polypropylene. Our post-industrial reclaim, made from industrial waste, so plastic waste sorted, shredded, melted, extruded, and also food contact approved, which we don't always see with mechanically recycled products. And last option available at the moment is a bio-based content, so made from the oil from coniferous trees, byproduct of the paper industry, renewable source. It's not in competition with the food chain at all. And again, this one we get the same quality and machine performance as a fossil polypro. Now, in terms of all of these film options, we have certification from external bodies to make sure that we've got traceability through the supply chain, through ISCC for all 3 types, and then through the Global Recycling Standard for the PIR polymers. I hope this is still giving you a nice overview, quick overview of the those products we've got available at the moment. And yeah, if you've got any questions, please feel free to either direct them to me or follow up with Louis afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Anne and I'm here to help.
Oh, I've got to do something.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, you've got to flip over.
Yeah, I got to flick over. Technology.
okay, now Louis changed my PowerPoint, so if I have to have a look up there later, that's why. I've been the technical manager at Impak Films for 10 years. Prior to that, I've worked in both the converting and the manufacturing industries for BOPP film. And prior to that, I worked in food manufacture in the cheese industry. So I've got a bit of a range of knowledge in terms of all the areas in food packaging. I thought I'd keep this short though and just run through a quick overview of Impak and what we do for the people that we work with. I'm happy to answer more specific questions later if anybody's got any, but Impak Films is a Melbourne-based film distribution company. It's privately owned by Andy Newman, who's over there, and Brian Christie, who quite a lot of people have said to me that they know Brian, which doesn't surprise me at all. We sell over 6,000 tonnes of material into Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia and the USA, and we have offices in the USA as well. We do sell a wide range of commodity films like BOPP, CPP, and currently PET and nylon, but we pride ourselves on our technical strengths, which cover a range of areas. Which one do I push? So we source specialty materials for niche food packaging applications. We design and build new technologies with our manufacturing partners. We don't actually make any of these films ourselves. We design films and laminate structures with our converter partners to fit the needs of food types or particular problems that are brought to us, while remaining within the bounds of the recycling models in the various countries in which we operate. We bring new and innovative products and manufacturing technologies to the market to increase the range of materials that our customers have to choose from. We source materials with PCR and PIR content to meet targets in Australia and the soon-to-be legislated targets in Europe. We ensure and manage the compliance of our materials with the requirements of the various food contact standards that we and our customers are required to operate within. And like today, we educate our customers and end users about the materials that we sell and the market environment in general, including recycling. We've got materials or laminates suitable for the packaging of all food types, with around 300 different materials in our portfolio, which include but are not limited to materials to replace non-compliant substrates. So we've got metallized films that can replace foil in terms of barrier, and they can also replace metallized PET. We've got some heat-resistant films that will replace PET to a point in some applications. We've got specialised materials with unique barrier properties, so co-extruded films, coated films, coated and barrier papers, and films for oven and microwave cooking. We've got materials that meet the recycle requirements. They're consistent with the recycle resin content targets that we have here. And we also have retortable films that are recyclable.